Hello there, it's Lynda Hill here, reporting from Sydney, Australia. Avalon, Sydney, Australia to be exact, where it is extremely hot today and unseasonably hot, and we're trying not to worry about that. Now, we have a full moon coming up, which is, really quite enormous, but I thought I'd talk about the Saturn-Neptune part of that because that is, intrinsically linked with the whole thing and pretty amazing. And in this next week, we're going to have the first exact square on the 26th of November, which is going to be telling quite the story. I think it's telling quite the story at the moment, and I want to, without wanting to confuse people, I really want to talk about the Grand Cross that happens on the 7th degree of mutable. Now, what I'm talking about is 6 plus of Sagittarius, 6 plus of Virgo, 6 plus of Gemini, and 6 plus of, what's the other one? Pisces. Hello. And so 6 plus of Pisces, and what I mean by that is 6 plus is the zodiacal degree. And in the Sabian symbols, we always add a degree to get the exact Sabian symbol. So over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of activity on the 7th degree of Pisces. We've had Neptune on it, and that's been a really big thing. And I'm not going to be highly political in this video, but I do want to start off this by providing a little bit of insight into what I think is really going on. Well, there's many things going on. I don't know what they are, but astrologically, and the Sabian symbols do tell us a fair amount of stuff. So Neptune has been for a long time on, it's a long one, it's Pisces 7, illuminated by a shaft of light. A large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea and mist. A large cross. So this can have a lot of connotation. Now I'm going to leave the political thing aside just for a minute, but this can be about where Neptune's saying to us, where have we placed our priorities? Where is our faith? Where is our hope for the future? And sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we've pinned our hopes to something that might not be working or hasn't been worth following, or it was worth following at the time, but we've grown and changed. So illuminated by a shaft of light, a large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea and mist. This can be about the shattering of illusions very much. And Neptune there, wow. And Neptune on the large cross. So interesting. Pisces 7 is this large cross. It's interesting to note that opposite it is Virgo 2. I mean, I know that's 5 degrees out, but I don't care about that. But Virgo 2 is the large white cross dominating the landscape. It stands alone on the top of a high hill. So we, in the early degrees of mutables here, we have 2 crosses that, really do go with the Christian religion. So, this is quite an interesting thing, I think. And so Neptune has moved on to the next degree, and Neptune is going direct right now, but it's splitting hairs to say that Neptune's not affecting Pisces 7 at the moment. It really is splitting hairs because Neptune is, where is it? I've got it here. I just do most of this out of my head. Where's Neptune? 7 degrees of Pisces in 1 minute. I mean, that's really splitting hairs to think that that's not, going to be affecting the degree before is not going to be affecting us. It's, and the way I look at it is that the degree before any planet or point is like the karmic condition. So where Neptune is now, but, it's only just on that degree, is on, as it's going direct, is on the girl blowing a bugle. A girl blowing a bugle. And so this is, getting our thoughts, our ideas out there. It can be making decisions. It can be moments of waking up from some, incredible dream. It might have been a terrible nightmare. It might have been something that we don't even know why we were involved in it, The girl blowing the bugle, it can also be about how we need to have a voice to be able to speak about really what we want to see in the world or what changes we want to see made. And sometimes the girl blowing a bugle is where people are just sounding off. And I'm seeing a lot of that. And, I put my hand up too. I'm quite capable of doing it. I've been withdrawing a little bit from Facebook lately because I've seen the reactionary side of myself coming through a little bit too much. And there's been a lot of, a lot of people have commented on this, how people are angry. Not all the time, but I mean, it's just it's so easy to get revved up, with the various world conditions that we've got going on. Now, what's really interesting, I find this fascinating and amazing and holographic and wild and weird. Exactly opposite Pisces 7, which is where Neptune's been really a lot in the last couple of years, and thank goodness it's moving off that. And, it's illuminated by a shaft of light. A large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea and mist. Now, exactly opposite that, you see, I see the oppositions and the squares. They're not separate. They're part of the same story. If something, it doesn't even have to be exact, it can be a degree off, I don't care. You know, like Pisces 8 and, you know, and Virgo 6 can be really affecting each other, you know. But anyway, but to keep this tight, because you can, in this case, is right opposite the large cross that's lying on the rocks surrounded by sea and mist, is the harem degree of Virgo 7. Now, there's nothing on that degree. It's just that anybody who has that degree, any event that happens around that degree, it might be the moon, it could be the ascendant going over that, or it doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's the harem, and of course the harem has all these connotations of Middle Eastern politics and culture and Muslims, and, you know, it brings up those ideas. Now, I don't know why I seem to have so much of Princess Diana in my head, but I do, and I have for a long time. Her Chiron was on the cross lying on rocks surrounded by sea and mist in her chart. She has that as her Chiron, and her mother-in-law is the head of the Church of England. So that'd qualify. And right opposite her Chiron was Pluto. You know, did she lead a chironic sort of Plutonian sort of life? I mean, you know, it's archetypal. And her Pluto degree is the harem. You know, and of course, you know, at the end of her life, she was engaged to an Egyptian, and you know, he was apparently a playboy anyway. There's all that story, and then she was in a harem anyway with the royal family, and so all of this. Anyway, there's much more to be said about Diana, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. But I do think that these 2 degrees really do talk about, you know, the state of fear and panic and the overblown stuff that's going on about what's happening with the Syrians. I mean, from our white bread perspective, you know, I mean, really, I can't imagine what it's like to walk from Syria to Europe. I can't imagine what it's like to not have a bed to sleep in every night. So it just completely escapes me that people are so vitriolic. Anyway, about the refugees, or the lack of understanding about the refugees. Anyway, again, I don't want to get too much into that. But you can see here how, oh, I hope you can, how this is all being set off. And not only that, it's being set off by Saturn on the 7th degree of Sagittarius, which is where it is right now. How fitting that Saturn is on Cupid knocking at the door of a human heart. So that's pretty amazing. So so here we've got this grand cross. It's Saturn is on the 7th degree of Sagittarius. Cupid is knocking at the door of a human heart. I'll read you some of the keywords from my book. Cupid knocking at the door of a human heart. Respectful invitation of love, seeing purity of motive, fear of commitment, fear of romance. It's about a key or an arrow, cupids and cherubs, unlocking the heart, one-pointed focused energy which can become obsessive, softening one's boundaries, Cupid's bow, the need to lighten up one's approach to others. There we go. And that's not even putting Saturn with it. That's just my keywords for this degree. And of course with Saturn on it, it can be really quite a different energy around that. So the cautions that I've got here, my interpretations are much longer. In case you don't know my book, this is actually the Penguin edition, which is a bit yellow. I don't like this one as much as mine. So you'll see there's a lot of writing there. And so I'm just pulling out a little bit of it. It can be about rejecting love or emotion for fear of losing independence, keeping up a strong, brave, severe face when one could be loosening up and enjoying another. Barriers and defences around the heart, seeing potential lovers in everyone. Well, it can be that. Being attracted to those you wouldn't normally notice, and frigid responses. So, of course, you know, Saturn is on Cupid knocking at the door of the human heart, you know, and this can really bring up where we really could benefit from stopping to see how we keep love out of our hearts. And this really is not separate from this Syrian refugee thing. You know, I mean, obviously most of our lives are not affected in the slightest by them coming or not coming or anything, you know. I mean, it's just that we watch the news. So many of us watch the news, including myself, and it can really get us going for the wrong reasons because we're swallowing the lie. Anyway, so I don't want to get in too much into the political things, but coming back to the whole thing. So I like to look at the grand cross of a degree. Well, as it happens, the Saturn-Neptune thing is hitting off two sides of this grand cross. Saturn is on the Cupid knocking at the door of a human heart. This can be where we might realize that we're in situations, we're in relationships, we're in situations, we have memories that hold us back from loving. We might find that, you know, there's just not love there. You know, with Saturn on that degree, it can be where we look at we look at our partner or our situation or the people around us, and we might be saying, well, what sort of content is there, you know, for my heart, you know? But there's also that other thing where we might be keeping love out, and this degree really can often talk about that because Cupid is knocking, ding, 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 ding. But it is Saturn. Deep breath. So Neptune's on Pisces 7, which is the illuminated by a shaft of light, large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea and mist. And this can be where we go, oh, I've been doing things for years. I've been believing things for years. I've swallowed the lie for years. I've you know, listened to this person talking to me how much they love me, or I've been listening to my, you know, self about how I need to work, how I need to run myself ragged in order to succeed. Any of these sort of things can really fit with this illuminated by a shaft of light. A large cross lies on rocks surrounded by sea and mist. Now, that is those two legs of that degree. The three legs of that degree. The Gemini side of it is an old-fashioned well with the coolest and the coldest and the purest of waters. That's Gemini 7. This can be quite a cold degree. It can be wonderful. It can be pure. It can be beautiful, and it can be where we know that we can have this nourishment. We can have this. We can draw from the well. I mean, that's obviously what it's about. It's about the well. But there can be this thing with this degree where we put our bucket in the water, and up comes the water, and we might go, needs a bit of warming up. It can do in Gemini. It can also be the thing that we can really rely on, that Gemini 7. It's interesting, though. If you go to the next degree, which is the degree where the actual Saturn-Neptune square is really happening, but you see it's splitting hairs to say it's not affecting those degrees before. Well, I'm going to start with Gemini 8, you know, because I'm talking about Gemini 8 because Saturn is squaring Neptune from Sagittarius 8, and Neptune is on Pisces 8. And so it's good to look at all the squares because that tells the story of the grand cross that's linked to the degree. I do this when I do my readings, my brain will just go, oh, there we go. There's the answer to that. In the opposition, in a square. Of course, the trines and sextiles are good, but they're the ones that work themselves out more easier by themselves. So Gemini 8 is aroused strikers surrounding a factory. Going on strike. And this Saturn-Neptune thing can be very much about going on strike. It can be where we go, done enough of this now. I'm tired. I'm going to go and lay down. You know, I'm going to watch a funny movie. I'm going to, you know, ring up my friends. I'm going to get drunk. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it can be any of those things. So, aroused strikers surrounding a factory. Where Saturn, I do know this. Oh, yes, it's about things forming underneath. It's so hot here today. It's 41 degrees Celsius. Anyway, it's Sagittarius 8 is where Saturn actually is when it's squaring Neptune, and it's deep within the depths of the Earth. New elements are being formed. And so this can be where we need to take a little bit of time. Now, I do definitely, like many other commentators, feel that this is a time for making decisions. Well, we might not be quite at the decision time because there's so much information that's likely to come through that it might be a good idea for us, unless there's this complete imperative to do something, it might be a good idea to really be sitting there weighing things up, because sometimes with Neptune, we go, well, I think I can see it. No, I can't. Oh, can I see it? No. It looks really obvious, but then it doesn't look obvious. So that's Neptune and Saturn square. So Saturn is on the 8th degree of Sagittarius. Deep within the depths of the earth, new elements are being formed. Interesting. So, yeah, where Neptune is now, as it's going direct, is on the girl blowing the bugle. And so you can see this amongst people that are really, sounding off, talking, too much talking. I think, there's a lot of talking and not really listening going on. I can see myself doing that too. I don't put myself above any of this. It's just that I like looking at it, and I do draw life's lessons from this stuff myself. So the girl blowing a bugle, it's sort of like, are we awake? Are we asleep? And Saturn Neptune is really very much about that awake sleep sort of thing going on. It can be where we're sort of like sleepwalking, and both can do that. Saturn can do that. Saturn can make us feel dog tired, and really we can feel really discouraged. Saturn can make us feel tired, discouraged, overworked, dry, sapped out, thirsty, all of those things. And so, and Neptune, well, God, sometimes we don't know what it's making us feel. Well, I shouldn't say making us feel, but it doesn't matter. I know that you guys know that. I know that it doesn't make us do anything. But, it's all right to argue with it, but we still end up doing it. And there's another thing also with, the fact that the square, the other leg of the square, well, one of the other legs of the square is Virgo 8. Now, nothing's on that, as I've been saying, but we've got the Saturn and Neptune thing going on over here, and then anyway, so Virgo 8 is a girl taking her first dancing instruction, her first dancing lesson. So I think with the Saturn on deep within the depths of the earth, new elements are being formed. I think there's a thing there where we've got to sit there and we've got to wait, and we've got to see what lessons are coming through from us. And of course, lessons can be insights, and it can be something that you hear, it can be something that you realize, all that stuff. Might be, something that really turns you on and gives you a lot of information. Are we going on strike? Are we learning the lessons of the dance? Are we waiting a little while we see, what's going on subterraneously? Is that a word? Yes. And with Saturn there, it really is subterraneous. And Venus has just come off the miners, the coal miners emerging from a coal mine. So Venus is going over some of the, more difficult degrees to do with relationships in this coming week and a half. It's going over some of the more difficult degrees in Libra. Yes. Venus is going to be telling us some stuff as well. Anyway, so that's a bit about, what's going on there with the Saturn and the Neptune, how that's lining up right now. So, that's like November 26 and November 27. That is exact, that square. But it's splitting hairs. It's now. It was last week. It was the week before, and it's going to be in December that we're going to be having this Saturn Neptune square. Now, again in June, around June 17 and June 18, around that time. But yes, equally before and after, Saturn and Neptune are both going to be retrograde when they next conjunct. And of course, conjunct means they're going to be on the same degree. Well, they're both going to be on 12. So in the Sabian symbols, that means 13, of course. So Saturn is going to be on the 13th degree of Sagittarius, and this is really interesting. I think this is going to be the next step. It's a widow's past is brought to light, and in the whole thing of the widow's past is brought to light, it's where things come to the surface. We begin to really realize stuff. It can be where secrets are made known. It can be where we can dredge up information from the past. It can be where we say to ourselves, why am I in this relationship? Why am I hanging on to the past? It can be where we hear things about our family and we go, wow, okay, didn't really realize that person was going through that. That can be another thing that's happening as well. So this is June, but a widow's past is brought to light. It's an interesting one. And then, so that's Sagittarius 13, and then we go to Pisces 13, and it's this is in June. This is Neptune, It's a sword used in many battles is now in a museum. It's like, it's interesting, when you think about, I really think that this is clash of civilizations with, the West and the Middle East and all sorts of things. I don't know where that's going. And I don't want to make any predictions about that because I just want it to be all okay, just like everybody else. We just want it to be okay. So a sword used in many battles is now in a museum. Is where Neptune will be. And at the same time, Saturn is on the widow at the open grave. No, Saturn is on the... Something will be happening on that degree, I bet, Taurus 5. Anyway, that's not the one. Saturn will be on the Sagittarius 13, which is the widow's past is brought to light. So this can be shining light on dark recesses, dark secrets. We can shine the light on the past so that it comes, into a much better light, basically. But this really feels like, the dropping of the battle. That's what Neptune on the sword, used in many battles, is now in a museum. It feels like there's a need to drop the battle, a need to drop the warring, the battling. That's what it feels like. And who knows what's going to happen with some of the ancient sites. I mean, I'll just tell you quickly, I want to share this story. I had this big plastic tub of photographs of mostly of my kids. It was all family stuff. It wasn't any, my things from my travels from the 1970s and all that. They're in somewhere else. They're in photo albums. So I had this big plastic tub, and it was all the pictures of the kids, their school photos, and then and bits of memorabilia and everything like that. Now this is a couple of months ago. I went and retrieved this box, and I thought, I'll go through and have a look. I still haven't done that yet, but I took the lid off it, and as I took the lid off, that one particular photo, actually, I think I've got it here. That'd be weird. I think I've still got it right here. Yes, I do. And I've been meaning to scan it. It's a picture of Palmyra. Anyway, you can't really see that, but it's an old black and white picture that I took in 1976. And it was when ISIS or ISIL or Daesh, death cult, or whoever the heck those people are, were ruining and plundering Palmyra. So this picture, like, this is the same day that we heard that they'd smashed this fabulous, these fabulous antiquities. And as I take the lid off the plastic container, this picture of Palmyra just flew out and flew onto the floor, and I'm looking around going, oh my God, because there was no others. I took that in Syria in 1976. So the people of Syria were just lovely, although I did have a few weird experiences there, I must say. But, I went through Iran and Iraq, and the most beautiful people, the most gorgeous country, and the most gorgeous architecture and art and welcoming people. Anyway, I don't want to go on about that. But it's just breaking one's heart, all of this stuff. So the sword used in many battles is now in a museum. Anyway, there's... So in terms of our lives, those of us who aren't fleeing, we are in some way probably going to be fleeing some things, because it's Neptune and it's Saturn, and that's a big deal, and it's going to be right through next year. So that is, those are the degrees of it next June. And then, and it's the biggest thing that's happening really next year is this aspect. So I just want to go to it. I usually do this right out of my head, but I feel to do this. Yeah, so the next square between Saturn and Neptune occurs in September, around September 10 next year. So, we've got this going on, this dance between Saturn and Neptune is going to be happening all next year. And so the 10th degree of Sagittarius, the 11th degree of Sagittarius is, because you round up one, is in the left section of an archaic temple. It's an old temple. A lamp burns in a container shaped like a human body, and we might say, my God, what does that mean? Well, one of the things I think it means is getting back into our bodies. It's really acknowledging our bodies as our temples, really dropping into the physical, and dropping into the physical, it can be in a totally spiritual way. It doesn't exclude, that idea. But it's, it's yoga. If you don't want to do yoga, I'm not a yoga person, but, it's going for a walk. It's remembering your body. It's looking at your diet. It's illuminating your life through your physical being. You know, that's a big part of it. And Neptune will be, this is next year in September, on, excuse me, Neptune will be on men travelling a narrow path seeking illumination. That's a beautiful degree. Anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I will talk about these things more. At the moment, I think what's really being asked of us is to access, is to let Cupid fire that arrow into our hearts, you know. It's like keeping Cupid out can be quite painful, and we can find ourselves really alone. And I think this Neptune-Saturn thing, it can really be about being alone. But, you know, there's the old thing, and we do know this to be true, that it's better to be alone than be with people that don't support you in your efforts or don't really love you. And, you know, if you feel that you're with people who really bring you down or drain you of your energy. Because Saturn-Neptune can be very draining, you know. On the other hand, what can happen with Saturn and Neptune after all that blah, it can be where we... reconnect with our dreams. I mean, that's what really Saturn Neptune's about. It's about reconnecting with what is real and what is vital and what really can work and what you can actually anchor in reality, rather than the loss, the disappointment, the disillusionment. It can be really disillusionment, but in amongst all that disillusionment, we can really find our path, and we can say, wow, okay, I didn't know I was going to end up here. You know, and it's and there will have to be made decisions made. It's 9 times out of 10 really, Saturn and Neptune. It's about decisions, really. And decisions made now can really infuse that with information. What am I saying? Anyway, the full moon is on November 26th. So the full moon is on, you know, there's this Sagittarius, Gemini full moon is on the same day that, you know, the Saturn and Neptune really squares. You know, I do think it's splitting hairs because it's doing it already, as I keep saying. So, and it's interesting to note that on the full moon, you know, Mars is on the blazing fireplace in a deserted home. That's the 8th degree of Libra. The blazing fireplace in a deserted home, and this can be where we realise that, you know, we spend too much time alone, or that we have to bring more fire, more warmth, more heat, more light into our lives. It can be about that. Mars just jumps out at me from this chart with that degree. The moon on the full moon is on the holly and mistletoe bring Christmas spirit to a home. So, and of course, we're in the lead up to Christmas, you know, and this is right around the, I think this might even be the day of Thanksgiving. I'm not American. I have spent a few Thanksgivings in the States, but I think it's the last Thursday. I think so. Anyway, so, you know, the Christmas type of celebration thing is what it's curious to see a Sabian symbol in Gemini that talks about Christmas, but it's about wanting to be with your friends and family in a celebration and pulling people together with that. It's a nice degree, that one. And it also can really be about remembering our elders and our children. It's both. It's the children and the elders. It's both. Because the sun on the degree, on the day of the full moon, is on the young child learning to walk with the encouragement of parents. This is not always about young children. This can be about adults. It can be about, you know, it can be about old people, well, old people, but, you know, people that really need your help. It can be about youngsters that need to have a guiding hand. It's very much about family, I believe, this full moon, you know, the need for family. And of course that sun, you know, during the course of the week following, is, you know, and just in 3 or 4 days after the full moon is going to go over Saturn. The sun is going to go over Cupid knocking at the door of a human heart just 2 days after the full moon. Mercury's on another degree that talks about children and parents, and you know, even if we don't have parents anymore, even if we don't have children at all, you know, this can be about helping others. So Mercury, which rules children, but doesn't have to be about children, it can be about animals, it doesn't matter, is on Sagittarius 9, and that is a mother leads her small child step by step up the stairs. So it's very curious, this full moon, because the sun is on a little child learning to walk with the encouragement of parents. That's the 4th degree of Sag. And the 9th degree of Sag is a mother leads her small child step by step up the stairs. Now, who would have thought that Sagittarius would have children degrees, the mothering of children degree to this extent? There's a couple of more children degrees in Sagittarius. It's quite interesting. And I guess, Sagittarius can often be very, quite childlike anyway. So Mercury's on this degree of the mother leading her children step by step up the stairs. It's going to be interesting. So I think, and that Mercury is square Neptune. It's, it's just 1 degree off. So the day before the full moon, Mercury is exactly square Neptune. So this is going to be quite a Neptunian, Saturnian sort of full moon. And many people are saying it's going to be a difficult one, and I have to agree. But difficult does not mean awful, of course. It can have us going, oh, I know what to do, and I've been putting it off for years, and now I have to do it. It can be as simple as that. And it can be where we have to really think about the welfare of children, or the welfare of animals, or the welfare of our parents. It can be that. Definitely can be that as well. And it can be about jettisoning, heck of a word, things from the past that just don't work anymore. Pluto is talking about that. That's the ancient bas relief that remains a witness to a long forgotten culture. It's sort of like, do we hold some things up that really we need to let go of? It's some things that are set in stone that we think that we can't move forward from. It's like, it can be so hard. In the couple of days leading up to the new moon, so this is around the November 23, 24, 25, 26, around those times, Venus is going to be on the 17 plus of Libra, which is Libra 18, 2 men placed under arrest. They are brought before the Tribunal of society to give an accounting for their actions. And then Venus goes on to a gang of robbers in hiding, which is Libra 19. So this is a really good time to really be looking at how we are handcuffed to situations, because the 2 men, that are brought before the Tribunal of society, it's 2 men placed under arrest. Now, no one needs to go to jail. No one needs to be standing up in court. It's more about where we realise how we've handcuffed ourselves to situations or problems. It can be where people have to stand up in court. There's a lot of people that should be going to court, but standing up in front of the court of public opinion, who get away with enormous things. While some of us are chastised for doing the smallest infraction, people who are stealing billions of dollars seem to get away with it, or killing millions of people in the Middle East, or whatever it happens to be. Anyway, and the gang of robbers in hiding is the karmic condition, really, of that Venus. It's interesting, the actual degree of Venus is the Jewish rabbi in a tiny room full of manuscripts and books performing his duty. So the Jewish rabbi. And this can be where we realise that we've got to get really, we've got to perform our duties. We've got to perform our duties with a spiritual bent, and with what fits into society. Now, I'm just hoping that Venus on the Jewish rabbi degree, and of course that can be, the Muslim imam, it can be the Catholic priest. I mean, it can be us, it can be, me, Lynda Hill, astrologer. It doesn't have to be so entirely religious, but it can really show up, that type of sectarian thing. Anyway, I hope this full moon doesn't bring too much of the 2 men placed under arrest and the gang of robbers in hiding. They can be very difficult degrees. Anyway, and especially as we're Venus is opposing Uranus in the lead up to the new moon, the full moon as well. I think there's going to be a lot of decisions about the ways that we're not going to continue into the future. I've already said that, and I think that's really, really big. It's not small. It's big. And, Venus opposite Uranus in this, or Uranus opposite Venus, whichever way you want to look at it, in this full moon, at this full moon time, after it's gone through all those difficult degrees. There's about 3 or 4 really difficult degrees in Libra. And it's very much about now, how do we work together as a team? There's a whole bunch of things about how we work together, teamwork, mateship, all this sort of stuff. It's a very Australian word, that, mateship. So Jupiter is on the 21st degree of Virgo, and that's the girls' basketball team. Sometimes we need to know when to throw the ball to someone else and say, okay, now you have to do that. I think a lot of people are going to be feeling rather tired, and we can't always be the one that's running with the ball, dribbling the ball, shooting the nets. You know, we can't always be the one doing all of that. We have to be in the team and know where the team's really leading us. Further to relationship situations is, you know, Uranus. Uranus is on the 17th degree of Aries, and it's on the two prim spinsters sitting together in silence, opposite Venus. With Venus having gone over some of the most difficult Sabian symbols in Libra that speak about relationships. So Uranus on the two prim spinsters sitting together in silence. You know, I've seen this degree on many people's charts where there's no silence going on. There's a lot of chat, you know, but the thing is, are they really talking from their heart? Are they really communicating with each other? And Uranus is not that great at communicating. And Uranus in Aries is sort of like, well, I'm waiting for you to stop talking. I'm just waiting for you to stop talking so I can speak. That's what it can be about. This is a real watershed of a full moon. Also, you know, in the lead up to the full moon, now as I'm making this video, basically, you know, Pluto and Venus are in square aspect to each other. That's another thing. What a time. The North Node has gone into Virgo. You know, I think this is very interesting. I think we're being really asked to be discerning about, you know, our future, what we want, what we're doing, getting organised. I think that's got a lot to do with it. And I know that's a bit of a buzzword for Virgo, but, you know, it's a truism. Not for all Virgos, of course. Some Virgos are slobs. I've experienced that, where I've lived with someone who was a triple Virgo who could not be more of a mess. But, you know, but the issue is cleanliness or not, or being organised or not. Anyway, the North Node is on the 29th degree of Virgo, and it's a man gaining secret knowledge from an ancient scroll he is reading. And so I think there's a lot to be learnt from this period that we're going through now, especially through that North Node. The trick is not to analyse everything too much, of course, but as the South Node is on the, it's the spectrum degree. I can't remember the exact wording. I do know it, but it's Pisces 29, light breaking into many colours as it passes through a prism. Not prison, but prism. And so, you know, this is very much about, it can be about spectrum analysis and really looking at things and analysing things. Anyway, I don't know how long this video has been going because I haven't been watching it, but I have a feeling it could be another long one. So I want to wrap this up and say this is a really big whammy. This is a whammy of a full moon that's coming up. I don't want us to be afraid. I think that this is one of those moments where we take a deep breath and we go, okay, what now? What next? Where are you prepared to venture? It's very much about where you're prepared to venture and where you're not prepared to venture anymore. I think this is going to be a real, not a millstone, but a milestone of a full moon. And I wish you lots of love. And I think, come back to Cupid knocking at the door of a human heart. I think it can really help. Like I often tell clients, you know, when I do readings, if I see this coming up in their chart, or, you know, if it's in their chart or their progressions or the transits or whatever, you know, that it's quite good to have a picture of Cupid. Just get a picture of Cupid, or have it as your desktop or something like that, and allow that bow and arrow to enter your heart, to make that space. Now, you might not really need it. Your heart might be completely open, but sometimes it doesn't hurt for us to go further into that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's not too long, and I hope you're, I wish you all a fabulous full moon, and I hope sanity prevails on a global level in this coming week. Well, longer than that, but I'd really like Venus to get past those degrees and the opposition to Uranus, and I'd really like the chattering masses to stop chattering about the inanities of it and talking about, you know, the Muslims and the political, oh God. Anyway, I think we need to drop it. And here I am bringing it up at the end of the video, but that's all right. I think I forgive myself. Saturn and Neptune can be very much about forgiveness. It can be very much about letting go of the thing that really bothers you. It can be about letting go of those expectations you've had about yourself that you might feel that you've let yourself down about, you know. Oh, boy. Anyway, enjoy. I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.